What's going on, Jerome's? So it feels like it's been forever since the Minnesota Vikings had an elite offensive line, and I understand that they're working on things, right? So Darisaw looks to be one of the best young left tackles in the game, knocking on all the wood. Can he stay healthy in a de facto contract year? Even though, yes, you do have a fifth-year option looking at extending him long-term. He has all the talents and the traits, and we've seen him be dominant, right? And I think that he will pan out and be one of the best left tackles in the game. Brian O'Neill is still top 5 right tackle in the league for my money. So we made this analogy a bunch. It's like having the most amazing slices of like lightly toasted sourdough bread, or focaccia or something like that, and just like we got the bread, but to make the sandwich, the meat. But Bradbury has improved. He was the worst center in the league under the previous regime. 2 years under the new regime, he's turned into a top 12, top 10 adjacent type center, which you can operate with. But he is getting older, and also back-to-back years he's missed time with a correlated back injury. Does make you a little bit worried, right? But the main issue right now is what's going to happen at guard. Now, it's less of an issue than has been in previous seasons, because in previous years it was so annoying where basically even before training camp, even before a single practice, a guy was anointed for the starting guard spots, whether it was Pat Elflein, whether it was Alex Boone, whether it was Dakota Dozier, whether it was Drew Samia, whether it was Oli Udoh, doesn't matter. But that's the frustrating thing about the previous regime. Oh, he's the starter and he's not moving, even though he's been very bad. Right, but now there does seem to be legitimate competition at the two guard spots. Incumbent Ed Ingram heading into year 3 at right guard. Blake Brandel seems to be penciled in as starting left guard after he was re-signed this offseason. And of course, the wild card is Dalton Reisner, who was the starting left guard last year. So they do have the makings of a potentially very good, maybe even great offensive line. You have a great tackle play, and if the interior can get their ish together, I mean, the sky is the limit, and hopefully the Vikings will be able to run the ball with aplomb this year. Protecting Darnold and McCarthy is obviously paramount to the rest of the offense, so hopefully knocking on all the wood, things can get together this year. Long story longer, Warren Sharp over at Sharp Football Analysis, looking like Luigi. By the way, they did up a rankings of all 32 NFL offensive lines, and of course the Lions are one, but Lions 1, Falcons 2. Falcons 2, really. Browns 3, understandable. Eagles 4, even without Kelsey, yeesh. Chiefs 5, sure. Then you have tied for 9th. You have the Bengals and the Vikings. Now, a couple issues with the Bengals rankings, but it's an argument for another day. But the Vikings within the top 10 certainly does make you go, a little bit. And this is what Warren wrote. Minnesota's offensive line stayed steady at number 9 this season. Number 9, thanks to Brian O'Neill, finishing 2023 among right tackles. First among right tackles, and ESPN's pass block win rate. Left tackle Christian Darisaw was Pro Football Focus's 5th best pass blocking tackle, as well as a unit. The Vikings were 3rd in pass block win rate in 2023, but only 19th in run block win rate. Now, when they say that they're 3rd in pass block win rate, it didn't seem like it, did it? Last year, but then 19th in run block win rate. That seems a little bit high for how things operated last year in the running game. And yes, Madison deserves a lot of flack for the running game last year. He just wasn't an RB1, but the offensive line certainly played a hand in it as well. And looking forward, so it's fun to have depth and competition for the first time in forever. And it's going to be something to watch during camp, like who's with the first team. And I'm sure what's going to happen is that there will be a rotation through. Like one day Brandel will be the ones, one day Reisner will be the ones. Don't read too much into it, especially at the start of training camp. But then once you see if a certain guy is consistently with the ones, or it's a static lineup with the two guard spots, and then it's something to pay attention towards the end of preseason and the end of training camp. But on paper, on purpose, like things are looking pretty good. If Bradbury's back, can stay healthy, I think the Vikings have a chance to do something special, because you forget, so Bradbury missed the first couple of games of last season, and Schlutman, who is a fine utility backup, he isn't as good as Bradbury, and the offense suffered. And I do think that a reason for the offensive stagnation and some of the turnovers was failure of the interior offensive line play, because everything trickles down. If the interior offensive line can't block, the quarterback has to rush his throw, blah, 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 blah. And also if the interior offensive line is bad, then all of a sudden you're getting contact in the backfield. It's a whole to-do, right? But I'm just hoping and praying and wishing that suddenly things start turning around. Could Bradbury be replaced next year? Yes. With all that cap space, Creed Humphrey, one time. That's all that I want. Adios mio. But also some other competition, like Walter Rouse coming in from Oklahoma/Stanford. Could he be a valuable swing tackle? Could he eventually take over for Brian O'Neill at right tackle a couple years down the road? It's possible. Also, Michael Jurgens coming in from Wake Forest, as well as Tyrese Robinson, spending some time with second-team right guard. Diamond Dan Feeney coming in as your new utility backup. And things are looking up for the offensive line. Tackles, health is a big issue, but also health is an issue with Bradbury as well, but competition at that guard spot. And I actually do think that the Vikings have the pieces there, and perhaps they could even ascend a little bit further. I'm not saying that they would overtake teams like the Lions, teams like the Browns or the Eagles in terms of offensive line caliber, but could they make a push up? I think they certainly could, and hopefully that's something that will come together this season, because offensive line gets together, run game gets better, all of a sudden it's like, oh, Sam Darnold's looking good. He has time to process things and time to get the ball out. Same thing if McCarthy's out there. Because, imagine J.J. McCarthy in the National Football League with a good offensive line, with Jefferson and with Addison, with Hockenson. Baby. But your thoughts are thoughts. Sharp Football ranks the Vikings tied for the 9th best O-line in the league. Let us know your thoughts and their thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But till next time, Skol, production value.